The wind over the Pacific base howled like it knew something was about to break. It carried the sharp scent of fuel, metal, and pride, the kind that could crush a person just as easily as it could build them. And that morning, it carried one sentence that would change everything. She stood there, shoulders squared, boots planted, as the Admiral's voice cut through the air like a blade. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. His words were colder than anger. She was being kicked off the base. Not reassigned. Not suspended. Removed. As if she had never belonged there at all. Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and people rising stronger after being pushed down, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support truly matters. Her name was Emily Carter. 29. One of the youngest test pilots ever trusted near a fifth-generation fighter jet. The kind of pilot who could feel an aircraft's heartbeat through her fingertips, who didn't just fly, she became the machine. But none of that mattered anymore. The rumor mill had been ruthless. They said she was reckless. Too bold. Too emotional. That she flew like she had something to prove instead of something to protect. And in a world built on discipline and precision, that was enough to erase years of hard-earned respect. She didn't argue with the Admiral. Didn't beg. Didn't even blink. Because somewhere deep down, she had already felt it coming. Still, as she walked away from the hangars for what she thought would be the last time, something inside her cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just a quiet fracture that spread through her chest like ice. The base had been her world. The jets, her language. The sky, her home. And now she was being exiled from all of it. The next few days passed like a blur of silence. No calls. No messages. Just the echo of that moment replaying in her mind. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the Admiral's expression, not angry, not disappointed, just final. That hurt the most. But Emily had never been someone who stayed down. She didn't go back home. She didn't hide. Instead, she drove hours away to a forgotten training strip, an old auxiliary airfield that hadn't seen serious use in years. The kind of place where no one asked questions and no one expected greatness. Perfect. The aircraft there were outdated, worn, nothing like the sleek precision machines she was used to. But that didn't matter. Flying wasn't about the machine. It was about the pilot. And Emily still had fire in her. Day after day, she trained. Alone. No audience. No recognition. Just her, the sky, and the constant push to be better than she had ever been. She studied every mistake she had ever made. Replayed every maneuver. Refined every instinct. She stripped herself down mentally and rebuilt piece by piece, not into the pilot they wanted her to be, but into the pilot she needed to become. There were moments when doubt crept in. When exhaustion whispered that it was over. That maybe the Admiral had been right. But every time that voice rose, she pushed harder. Because she wasn't done. Months passed. And then, one night, everything changed. A sudden, high-priority alert rippled through multiple naval bases. A classified threat had appeared off the coast. Something fast, unidentifiable, and dangerously close to restricted airspace. Communication lines were jammed. Systems were glitching. Pilots were grounded until further notice. Except there was one problem. The situation was escalating too quickly. They needed someone in the air immediately. Back at the base where she had once stood, the Admiral was pacing. Tension hung thick in the command room. Every available pilot was either too far, too inexperienced for this specific scenario, or grounded by the system interference. Time was running out, and then someone said her name. At first, the Admiral dismissed it. Coldly, firmly. But the suggestion didn't go away. Because no matter how much he wanted to ignore it, there was one truth he couldn't deny. She was the best for this. The silence that followed was heavy. Pride clashing with necessity. Judgment wrestling with reality. Finally, he gave the order. Find her. When the message reached Emily, she didn't hesitate. Not for a second. She arrived at the base just before dawn. The same gates she had walked away from now stood open in front of her. But nothing about this return felt triumphant. It felt unfinished. The moment she stepped onto the runway, every eye turned. Some recognized her. Some didn't. But all of them felt it. Something had changed. She moved differently. Carried herself differently. Stronger. Sharper. Unshakable. There was no reunion. No apology. Just a briefing, fast and urgent. And then they led her to the aircraft. An F-22 Raptor. The most advanced fighter jet in the world. As she climbed into the cockpit, something inside her settled. The noise faded. The tension dissolved. This was where she belonged. Not on the ground, not in doubt, but here, in control. The engines roared to life, and within moments, she was airborne, cutting through the sky with precision that felt almost unreal. Back in the command room, the Admiral watched in silence. Then the radio crackled. Her voice came through, calm, steady, different. "Control, this is Raptor Echo 1. There was a pause. And then someone in the room froze. Because that call sign, no one had assigned it. And yet, it carried weight. Respect. History. Within seconds, something incredible happened. SEAL teams monitoring the situation, elite operators who rarely showed emotion, who rarely reacted to anything, stood straighter. Some even raised their hands in quiet, instinctive salute. Because they recognized it, not as a designation, but as a statement. Echo 1 wasn't just a call sign. It was a reputation, a legend. Back in the sky, Emily wasn't thinking about any of that. She was focused, locked onto the unidentified target. It moved unpredictably, testing her limits. But she adapted, anticipated, controlled the situation with a level of mastery that left even the most experienced observers stunned. This wasn't the same pilot who had been dismissed months ago. This was something else entirely. She closed in, stabilized, and neutralized the threat with surgical precision. No chaos, no recklessness, just perfect execution. When she finally returned to base, the runway was lined with silence. Not because people didn't know what to say, but because they didn't need to. She stepped out of the aircraft, removed her helmet, and for the first time since her return, she looked directly at the Admiral. There was no anger in her eyes. No need for validation. Just quiet certainty. The Admiral held her gaze, and for a moment, the weight of his earlier decision seemed to press down on him. He didn't apologize, but something in his expression changed. Respect. The kind that isn't given lightly. The kind that's earned through fire. Emily didn't stay long after that. She didn't need to. She had already proven everything that needed proving. Not to them, but to herself. And as she walked away from the runway once again, it felt different this time. Not like an ending, but like a beginning. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that strength isn't about never falling but about rising stronger every time, take a moment to like, share, and let others feel this journey too. And before this story ends, leave a comment with the word, rise. If you believe that no setback can define your future, because sometimes, the moment you're pushed out, is the exact moment you begin to soar.